Welcome back, my friends, to your channel. Today we are going to continue to talk about the failover clustering, and we are going to see SQL failover clustering, and we will see how it is done step by step. But before we start, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. What is usually done is that clients talk to the application server, either it's a web application server or a software application server, which in its place talks to the database server. So in case of the SQL database gets corrupted for any reason, then the application itself will stop to respond to the clients. So in order to avoid data corruption, we must have two database servers to connect to the application server. But because of the criteria and the structure of the database itself, it's not really possible to have two database servers to be read and write. There must be one database server only for read and write, and which means that in case that we want to have two database servers, then there must be one master and one slave, which means one to be read write and the other will be standby. Here where the always on availability group of the SQL server comes along to help us do this structure of the database. In order for the always-on availability group to work, we must have a Windows failover cluster where we will have two or more nodes connected with a heartbeat together on a certain storage, and the clients will be connected to those nodes through the local network. We must add the role of Windows failover clustering on the server, and then once it's added, we must go and create a failover cluster as we saw in the previous video of Windows failover clustering. Then we will be ready for the SQL server availability group. Once the Windows failover clustering is ready, then we will install SQL server, and then after that the first thing to do is to go to the SQL server service, MS SQL service, and then change the logon of this service into a user that has the administrative of database access and Windows Active Directory administrator access. After this step is done, you will be prompted to restart the service, which you will do, of course, and then after that we will go and open the Microsoft SQL Manager from the start menu, and inside the SQL configuration manager we will go and check for the SQL server service as well, and we will enable the the availability group as you may see in the video. Now these steps must be done on both servers that will have the availability group on them, and once this is done, we will open the SQL Studio, and we will go to the availability group, and we will start to create a new availability group following the wizard as it shows in the video. We will follow most of the steps are just default, but I will show you the most important step when in all of this, which is the creation of the listener. Now the first thing is that we will specify a name for the group, and it will depend on the Windows failover cluster. Once we put a name for the group, we will go to next in order to select the databases that will be part of this group. As you may see here, most of the databases are already part of the group, and we have one database that does meet a requirement in order to be added to the group, and the other requires full recovery, while the rest of the databases are already part of another group. One important thing to know here that there must be at least one available database to be added to the group, otherwise we will not be able to continue. Once we choose this database, we will continue and we will add the replica, which is the other database server to be part of this availability group. We will put its name and connect to it using an account that is administrator on that server. We will check mark for the automatic failover of the database, which means that in case of any problem, the failover will be automatically done. Now the endpoint is default. And the replica here, it's a very important point that you must choose to get from the primary only, because if you choose to get from secondary, it will not work. The secondary server will be read-only database server, which means if we try to make any backup of the databases, it will state an error. Here we must choose to have the backups from the primary only. And next, we will go to the listener, as I told you, which is the most important point. And inside the listener, we will create a listener. This listener will be the name of the availability group that we will connect. This name will be registered on the DNS server and will be the name of the availability group, which will be on any available server of the servers that part of the group. Now we will add an IP address to this group, which is a static IP address, and the port will be an available port on our network. Once we specify the listener, the rest of the options are just to be moved forward, and the listener will be created, and it will be part of the roles of the Windows cluster. As you may see here, I have a group that is a role here, and here I see its owner node. Now, once the group is created, we may go to the database studio, the SQL studio, and we will connect to the availability group, where we will see all the features. We will see the group that we created, and inside it we will see the nodes, the replica nodes, and we will see the available database that are part of this availability group. In addition, we will be able to see the group listener, which we created, which we already connected to it. Now, here you may see that I have two database server, which is the primary and secondary, and I am able to start a normal failover for the databases from the primary to the secondary without any interruption whatsoever to the users. We will start this failover as you are able to see, and we will connect to the secondary database using the SA user or an administrator user, a domain administrator, and then we will finish this failover moving. And as you may see here, it's showing us the performance of the movement, and it's all in progress. Once this is done, we will see that all the databases are moved into the secondary database server, which will be the primary server. Now, as you may see that since the movement is done, the secondary is now the primary. Of course, we have a notification that the synchronization is not really completed. It takes some time since I have a lot of databases in this group. Once this time is passed and the synchronization is back to normal, and now everything is back to normal, and this is all done without any interruption whatsoever on the users. One last thing to tell you about is that once the availability group is created, you are able to go to this availability group and to the available databases, and just right click and add any database to this availability group to be part of your availability group listener. Now, the importance of this availability group usage is that if you want to make any maintenance for your database servers, the primary or the secondary, you are able to do it easily and without any interruption. This will be all about the always on availability group, my friends. I hope it was clear enough for you. Please don't hesitate to ask any question, and please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more videos to come.